and glorify you. We ask you to bless our state, bless our leadership. Look upon everyone that is occupying this space in this room today and keep us with a mind, Lord, to do your perfect will. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Treadaway?
Here.
Mr. Stringer?
Here.
Mr. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Barnes? Here. Mr. Betzel? Here. Mr. Bolton? Here. Mr. Ingham? Here. Mr. Estes? Here. Ms. Butler? Mr. Gray? Here. Ms. Morris? Here. Mr. Pettus? Here. Ms. Shaver? Here. Mr. Starnes? Mr. Wadsworth? Quorum is present.
Thank you, Teresa. House Bill 88. I'm gonna carry that over at the call of the chair, and that's going to bring us. We're going to go out of order a little bit because of folks have meetings and that are scheduled about the same time. So let's bring up Senate Bill 46. Senator Coleman.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. That is loud. Senate Bill 46, I'm very proud of. It is the companion bill to House Bill 66, sponsored by Representative Tillman, that puts a designation on the driver's license for invisible disabilities. You all should have a substitute in front of you that makes it identical to the House version that you all have already passed.
So we're dealing with the substitute. Is there any questions by any members of the committee? I got a motion to adopt the sub. Representative Betzel, a second by Representative Jackson. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The bill is now before us as substituted. If I don't see any more, you got a movement for a favorable report from Representative Gray, second by Representative Estes. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Your bill has a favorable report. And I hope that you've taken note of what we do here in the House.
Yes, Mr. Chair. You know, when you bring real good legislation too like this, that helps the community, that we do the same thing. Thank y'all so much, though. This is going to be huge and save lives in the state of Alabama. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to House Bill 314. Representative Butler.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee. HB 314 is just amends the law to add, for the window tint, it would add county prosecutors and municipal prosecutors as well, and I'm expecting a couple of amendments also.
All right, who's carrying the amendments?
Ron and Greg.
All right, let's go ahead and get the amendments before us. Representative Barnes.
Yes, sir. I want to replace line 14. I want to add the legislation to this. I want to replace line 14 on page 1 with the following: municipal prosecutors, current four members. Okay, and current former members. Lost my place here. Of the Alabama legislature from this prohibition. Replaces line 25 on page 1 with the following: federal and local employees and officials. Replaces line 50 through 51 on page 2 with the following: county or municipal prosecutors, current or former members of the Alabama legislature, individuals exempt under Section B. Replaces line 54 through 59 on page 2 through 3 with the following: their personal use vehicles.
All right, you heard the amendment. Is there any questions on this amendment? All right, you want to wait till we get the bill before us, or you want to talk on the amendment? It's all the same. Okay, we'll wait until we get it. I entertain a motion to adopt the amendment. Motion by Representative Morris, second by Representative Stringer. All in favor of adopting the amendment indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. All right, the ayes have it. Now, we have one more amendment, and we'll go ahead and get that before us, too. Representative Bolton, want to explain the amendment?
Yes, sir. This amendment replaces line 14 on page 1 with the following: municipal prosecutors, judges, and magistrates from this prohibition. Replaces line 25 on page 1 with the following: federal.
Hold on. That's the same one. Do you have another one, or is that all?
Yeah.
This one should have come in first.
Yeah, that one should have come first, but
We'll go down to line 12, where it says replace line 50 through 51 on page 2 with the following: county or municipal prosecutors, active or retired judges or magistrates, and all individuals exempt under subsection B. It just does not include legislators.
Yeah, it had the judges and magistrates that we were
Okay,
asked.
so that adds the judges and magistrates.
Right.
And his part added the legislature and who? All right. Hold on, we got to get a copy of this amendment to Teresa. Okay. All right, so you've heard the amendment, what it adds, so I'll take a motion for favor report to add the amendment, and then we'll discuss the bill. All right, motion to add the amendment by Representative Morris, second by Representative Stringer. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The bill is now before us as amended. Any questions on the bill as amended? All right, let's back up then. Hold on. Is that amendment include everything?
That amendment does not include legislators, and that was the intent of this one. The amendment presented first actually probably should have come after this one, because it put legislators in there.
All
I'm
right.
not personally in favor of putting legislators.
Okay. that's
Not
what it
yet.
says. Okay.
All right, you got it figured out?
Okay.
All right.
Have one amendment.
So the one amendment, actually, let's back up and
Well,
recall
I
this.
haven't actually seen that one, the one that I had prepared added the magistrates and judges. But Representative Barnes did call me, and I told him I was fine with that.
Listen, hold
I
on
haven't
for a
seen the
second.
amendment.
Barnes, your amendment included all of it, correct? Your amendment just repeated it.
Yeah, mine had judges, it just did not include legislators.
Did yours have the judges?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we need to recall this amendment, or did we even take a vote on it? Yeah, we did. So I'll take a motion, recall Bolton's amendment, and then if there's anything else, we'll look at it at that point. They are different then.
Right.
But if they're both different, then why would we reconsider? They are two different ones.
That was my
All
understanding.
right, all right. So hold on just a second. So we got the two amendments. They are different. What is the difference between the two? I think Bolton adds the judges where this one did not, correct? Okay, so the bill's before us is amended. Any questions now on the bill as amendment? Representative Pettus.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm a legislator. Exempts me. My wife's driving my car. She's not exempt. She's going to get a ticket. How is that fair?
I would refer to the gentleman that brought the amendment.
Well, even
we
the
could-
original one, when you said the prosecutors, prosecutor's wife's driving the car, she's not exempt.
It'd be the same thing that's now for active and retired law enforcement.
That's right. Their wives get a ticket also. We've been trying to amend that one too, because it's not fair when one drives the car and one don't. When in retired judge, most of them ain't gonna have, like a retired legislator, they're not gonna have an ID. You don't have the ID anymore. There's no way to prove that you are a retired legislator. Retired law enforcement, if my wife drives my car, she can get a ticket.
I
We're
would be-
picking and choosing. This is gonna be unconstitutional because when you say you can drive it, but your wife can't.
Mhm.
So I think all you're going to do is when the officer stops them, well, today I can't write a ticket, tomorrow I can. So if you're going to say in their personal vehicle, you just messed it all up. You're making it illegal.
And that's what the the prosecutors that came to me had asked for that. But as a trooper, how did you handle it when you were out there patrolling and you
Wrote them all a ticket.
Okay. I would be open to an amendment to,
Well, the amendment is to do away with the law enforcement, the retired law enforcement, and not add any of this. That would be the best way to fix it, to make everybody on the same ground.
the way the world's gone crazy. Minnesota, there were a couple of legislators killed recently. I probably wouldn't have been open to that amendment before. And I've had death threats myself from being right here for legislation that the Fusion Center investigated. But anyway, you bring a good point, but I would refer to the chair and ask his opinion on it
Let's get the discussion out of the way, and then we'll see where we're at with it. Representative Betzel, Barnes, and Jackson in that order.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Butler, I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to discuss this ahead of time. I echo some of what Representative Pettus said. I voted no on the floor when we had this original exception for law enforcement, and this is coming from someone who is in law enforcement. And I think because it's the big picture, understanding what the spirit and intent of the original law was that we created, in which that we said that we were reducing window tint as a way to create a safer environment on traffic stops for law enforcement. And then when we began creating these exceptions, and these exceptions then you have to prove or validate, you're really creating an environment that's more dangerous for everyone. So in an attempt to do something to create it less dangerous for a group of people that we somehow, I mean, I understand the world we operate in. My job in law enforcement is dangerous. I understand that some of the decisions we make here in the legislature puts us in a dangerous spot. However, we can't keep creating these exceptions and provisions. So what's next? School teachers? And down the road, because we care and love about every one of these people in our community. But I think inadvertently what we're doing is creating a more dangerous environment, because we make a traffic stop as law enforcement because there's a window tint violation, just to find out that it's somebody that legally could have window tint. So you've created a stop on the side of the road who's made it more dangerous for the law enforcement officer, and you've made it more dangerous for the family you stopped or the person you stopped. So I just disagree with these exceptions. The intent and purpose of what we were doing in the beginning to make it more safe, we are actually undoing right now by doing this. And I don't think it's intentional by anybody. I think we see an opportunity, but these exceptions are just truly making it more dangerous for everybody.
Yeah, and I actually had, judges and prosecutors come to me and request this. And in today's world, I'm absolutely fine with it.
Yeah, and I understand in and of itself, I understand, well, I am behind tinted windows, but I mean, we do so many things in the public eye already. Like tinted windows aren't going to be the great barrier that keeps anyone. Could it possibly be helpful? But, all of our habits, from going out in public and shopping to your social media, you tell the world where you are all the time. If they want to do something, they're going to be able to.
Correct.
I don't know that window tint is going to be the answer. It creates exceptions for a group of people, and again, like I said, just makes it a little bit more dangerous.
Representative Barnes.
Well, I respectfully disagree with that. And the reason for that is, even on my church bill that I will be coming up later today, I have come under intense fire because of that bill from across the nation, not just here in Alabama, with the climate as it is. This is extremely important to me when I'm going down the interstate or whatever the case may be, or around town. You're most vulnerable when you're in your vehicle, especially on the interstate. Someone can pull up beside you. You do have a chance if you have window tint, if they're using a handgun. You can be in any position. It could probably save your life. Shotgun, doesn't matter, you're probably going to die. But it gives you an opportunity to be in a position where you might not be recognized. They may not recognize your vehicle unless they've been scoping you out and are intent on killing you. Then it wouldn't matter. But I'm definitely for this. I think we as legislators, we're coming under fire. It's going to become more intense as we go on. When we start with the climate that's going on, it's going to become more and more prevalent that we come under these threats. And I'm certainly for this.
And I would agree, but and you have judges that are literally taking away maybe your children,
That's right.
your wealth, or putting in prison in you. But it's all of us. We work for the people back home that we represent, and I was asked by the people I represent to bring this, so that's where we are.
Right, Representative Jackson, then Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to reiterate something here. Who created this climate? I got a sticker I took off my car, the legislature sticker, because of crazies. And you can do something. The bill I introduced, early voting, people, I don't understand that. But people got an attitude, and they don't trust the government because of what's taking place right now in our nation. And it's dangerous to be an elected public official because of what's happening out of Washington. And there was a time when we could come in this building and really disagree and enjoy one another. I'm not your enemy. I'm an Alabamian. I want what you want. And so this is the climate that we didn't create. Somebody did, but we didn't do it. But we all are affected by it. Now, having tint in my car is not going to keep me alive. If I got the State House sticker on the back. So this is where we are right now, And no legislation you do is going to fix this, because it's in the heart of the people. Until their heart changes, that's the only thing going to make us better. You can't legislate morality, because some evil is happening in this nation, and it's perpetrating from the top down. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Morris?
Just more of a comment. I don't plan on getting my windows tinted. Try not to indulge in certain legislation that's going to have me under fire like that. But I do understand the scope of your bill, and to some of my colleagues that's mentioning, like getting pulled over by the police or making it more dangerous, and to sit and listen to it, even in the midst of taking the tool away from police officers to be able to have a permit to carry. And we're talking about the tint on a window is going to cause more problem than a permit with a police officer being able to stop someone or see someone walking with open carry. I just find some of the things that we do is the reason why we be up under so much scrutiny. We take away the valuable tools to make our police officers safe, and then we turn around the frivolous stuff and say this is what's going to cause the police to have more problems. That's just my little facts, fun facts.
Representative Pettus, then Representative Wadsworth and England.
I guess my next comment, is I have a constituent that has window tint, and they get a ticket, and then they see you with window tint, and they say, "Oh, you're special." Are we special?
No, sir.
That's what this bill's doing. You're saying you're special. I'm better than my constituent is. I can have window tint. You can't. I totally disagree. And with the law enforcement, you're putting law enforcement more at risk, allowing them to have window tint, because everybody's going to say, well, I'm a judge, I'm a legislator, I can do whatever I want to. Thank you.
All right, we've got a lot of questions from members of the committee. Here's what I want to do. I want to put this in a subcommittee, not to kill it, but we've got existing law. We're trying to add to that. I'd like to know what some of the other states are doing, and let's do that, and we'll bring it back at the call of the chair. You okay with that?
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to carry this bill over to call the chair. I'll put it in subcommittee, and we'll get some work on it, and we'll bring it back. Not to kill it, but
Thank you, Chair.
how many questions right now?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that's going to bring us to my bill, House Bill 332. I've got a couple of amendments. I'm going to turn the gavel over to the Vice Chair, Representative Stringer.
Thank you, Chairman. At this time, we'll call HB 332. Chairman Treadaway.
All right, I have a couple of amendments, but real quick, let's get the amendments.
Yes. Representative Pettus has an amendment. One second.
Let me explain the bill. All right, real quick, what this bill does, under existing law, child care facilities are not required to have anaphylaxis training and response procedures in place. We had a teacher whose child in my district was at a daycare. They did not know how to react. The doctor said had the baby not gotten there, would have definitely died. This bill simply requires training so they know how to address these situations. They didn't call 911. They didn't provide any first aid. They basically didn't know what to do. It's really no different than some of the EpiPen laws that are in place. This just requires training when these type of reactions happen, how to handle them, and they can do them online. The amendments will just straighten up some language that's already in the current law on the EpiPens.
Right, Representative Pettus.
Okay, replace line 27 on page 1 with the following. Licensed daycare center employees to complete and replace line 38 on page 2 with the following. On or before August 1st, 2027, the State Department of Human Resources. Replace line 46 on page 2 with the following. The State Department of Human Resources pursuant to this section. Replace line 73 through 93 on page 3 and 4 with the following. Employees of a licensed daycare center must complete, can't even say the word, training program developed by the Alabama Department of Public Health pursuant to Section 22-116, and shall complete this program or sequential online training developed by the Alabama Department of Public Health every 2 years thereafter. Every daycare center shall issue a certificate and developed by the Alabama Department of Public Health to its employee who successfully completes the anaphylactic training program. Each daycare center shall keep a copy for all issued certificates. Daycare center that opts to acquire and keep.
All right, I have a representative. Have a motion for adoption. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Representative Bedsole. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any noes? The motion carries for the amendment. Do we have another amendment?
I think, Ginger? Where's that amendment
Good deal. All right,
at?
that'll
You
be,
put me through all that this morning, last night? But I was correct then. Yes. I mean, that's the trial lawyers. Come on. So the bill is before us.
Yep. So the bill is before us as amended. Any other questions? Having none, we have a motion for a favorable by Estes and a second by Jackson. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
The bill, any opposed? Then the bill passes as amended. Thank you.
All right. That's going to bring us to House Bill 86, Representative England.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 86 attempts to add additional things for the parole board to consider when considering whether or not to grant parole. Things included are inmates' employment while incarcerated, any education inmate gained while being incarcerated, and also recognition of the risk assessment that they do in determining, and Department of Corrections does when determining whether or not someone should be released. There are multiple reasons for this. The first is obviously we want to make sure that we do whatever we can to encourage someone who's incarcerated to do the best they can to improve their situation so when they get out, they don't recidivate. But also, we want to make sure that the parole board has as much information as necessary to make a well-informed decision. But honestly, and the last thing is, and most important for me, is just making sure that we are encouraging those that when they're incarcerated, that if they do things that we ask of them, that they know it's going to at least be considered. Because it doesn't change whether or not any discretion that they have in making the decision, they get to make the final decision. All this does is just add additional guidelines or requirements or whatever to make sure that the entire picture of the inmate is taken into consideration. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
I got Representative Jackson and Representative Morris.
I want to thank you. Thank you for the recognition. I want to thank my colleague, Representative England, for bringing this legislation. Representative, could you just speak on what has happened on the parole side? People don't get parole. Could you just mention that just a little bit? Because people don't understand. People have done everything they could do. They've taken the classes. They've been a good inmate, stayed out of trouble, and come to the parole and get turned down.
Yeah, it's been an issue for a very long time. The state of Alabama invests millions of dollars in things like Ingram State and others to give inmates opportunities to engage in getting certifications, getting educated, things like that, and then actually going to work unsupervised 8 hours a day. Sometimes they go home on weekends for 72 hours, and then they go through this entire process and only to go before the parole board and be told that you're too much of a risk to be released. Now, I'm not suggesting that the two things are synonymous, because obviously some people will be on their best behavior when they're incarcerated, but when they get out, things change. But really, this just makes this a holistic analysis of the person that's applying for parole
Yes.
to make sure that the parole board is making the most informed decision about whether or not this person is prepared and ready to, when they're released, to be a productive part of society. And to considering that we do invest so much in these things, I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that it's considered when they're up for parole.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
All right, Representative Morris.
Proper time.
Representative Morris. Any other question by any members of the committee? Representative Bedsole?
No, you've the last few years, you've been a voice for this system or improving it. So I hopefully just a couple quick questions on that. There's been some change at the parole board. Do you have any statistics or trends in which how the paroles have changed with any change in the leadership there?
It's probably in the 20% release. It's gone up from the 8% at one point it was a few years ago. But so there is a trend that is kind of trending up. But really, honestly, this legislation really doesn't have anything to do with the trends as much as it is, when somebody goes before the parole board, just giving the parole board, the ability to have the most information they can when making a determination about whether or not someone should be released.
Yeah, the things you have listed seem pretty sensible to consider. Do you know if these things are things they are considering, but what you're trying to do is say they have to consider them?
Before the recent change in the parole chair, the hearings were notoriously short and didn't really take in a very holistic approach in determining whether or not this person has actually done a number of things to indicate to the parole board that they are ready to be released. So in an effort to make sure that everybody who's incarcerated in the state understands that if you do these things, you do them the right way, and you do all the things that we require you to do, it doesn't guarantee you be released. Mm-hmm. But at the very least, when you go before the parole board that those things will be considered. So honestly, with the trends, it's not really about the trends, in my opinion. It's more or less making sure that everybody understands that when you go before the parole board, these things will be considered.
Yeah, and as I read through the list of things you've included here, it does make sense. If I was in that position to evaluate this criteria, I guess what I'm asking is, do you know if they were already considering these things?
Yeah. It's kind of hit or miss.
Okay.
There's no consistent application of it. So this just makes sure that that if you do these things and you go before the parole board, they will be considered.
And what has been your experience with conversations related to the intent of this bill with the parole board?
Well, I've talked to Cam Ward a million times about these things. He's expressed support of this legislation to me because, again, it doesn't take away the discretion of the board. It just requires them to consider other things.
Sure. Yeah, and last thing, just kind of a general comment, and I've expressed concerns before. When we talk about this same issue, is creating a right inside of something that inherently there's not a right to. The parole system and the administration of it is rest inside of the parole board's authority, in which that it's a tool to reward those people who have had good behavior inside the system, who have served the mandated portion of their sentence, who have done all the right things. It is the parole board system to then evaluate. And so what I never want to do through these pieces of legislation is create an inherent right that's not there. And so, I don't think this does, but that's why I do like to talk through it and see. I see the intent of what you're trying to accomplish. So,
well, as you know, I probably have some more aggressive legislation in that regard.
We've seen it.
We've seen it. But this is actually taking advantage of an opportunity to kind of draw a compromise.
Sure.
And it's on both sides, because if you're interested in public safety, right, and you've got our prison population is now probably 85, closer to 90% of just violent offenders, which means that, when you go before the parole board, you want to make sure that you take into account everything that this person has done. But for multiple reasons, because if you're interested in public safety, knowing that the majority of the prison population will get out at some point, and you've got a violent population that's matriculating through your system, you want to make sure that that person doesn't EOS and get out without any supervision at all. Because if we're concerned about public safety, we want to make sure that the people who are ready and available and have demonstrated over a number of years that they can handle being released early, when they get out, though, they also have some supervision, some drug testing, somebody who's monitoring who they're with at different times. So it's sort of a balance.
Sure.
So we want to make sure that the folks who are incarcerated know that when they do things to rehabilitate themselves and demonstrate that they're able to handle that responsibility, that they know that when they go before the parole board, although they're not guaranteed release, they at least know that those factors will be considered.
Yeah. Well, as always, I appreciate your thoughtfulness and the dialogue. I knew that you've taken a lot of time to study this issue, and I just appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Representative Pettus.
Got just two questions.
Yes, sir.
It's on C. It says the Board of Pardons and Parole must give positive consideration. Well, what if they're doing the opposite? Can they not just, instead of positive consideration, just say consideration there and on line 2?
Where you at? What page?
He's on page 2, line
C. Let's see.
Well, I wasn't up.
It's 8B1.
Line
The Board of
56
Pardons
on
and Parole
page
must give positive consideration. What about just consideration instead of positive on that one? And also over here where it says it again, may give positive consideration. Should they not give all consideration, even if they do
Sure.
negative on that?
I mean, if you want to, I
I mean, I guess that's the
yeah, I wouldn't be
positive.
opposed to, if you wanted to amend that, I wouldn't be opposed to that at all.
You have an amendment sheet? I don't want to do it on the floor.
Yeah.
We got time. We can do it here. It's not a.
All it's
major
doing is
change.
removing the positive.
He's going to write that up. I'll go to, is anybody, any other questions on the bill while we're working on this amendment? So agreed upon amendment. What are you changing? So with the.
Just taking the word positive, 2 words positive on line 56.
And what are you doing with them?
Just taking the positive out.
He don't like positive.
And
Because they should be all
hold on.
consideration.
I'll get to you in a second. And the sponsor of the bill's good with that. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
fine.
Okay, so the sponsor's good with it, and we can write that up in a minute. He's writing it up now, but that's what it does. Representative Jackson, then Representative Bolton.
I just want to ask my colleague, what's wrong with the word positive?
Well, they should, if they're doing negative, they should be able
Well,
to
it
take
wouldn't
that
be
in
it wouldn't be
consideration.
positive. They know it's negative.
I know, but they can't, if it's negative, they can't consider that
They
based
must-
on that.
They must still give consideration.
Yes.
Just taking the word positive
Yeah,
out.
all consideration.
All right. All right, Representative Bolton.
Yeah, on line 55, over here on line 64, it says they may give consideration, and on 55 it says they must give consideration.
Yep.
We've got a conflict there. Are we going to say, on 55, we're going to say may give consideration?
No, he's taking positive out of it completely. So
Yeah,
on both those lines. So,
they must give consideration.
and that section 2 deals with any other factors contained in the guidelines.
Okay, so we don't have a conflict there.
Mhm.
All right. So again, on, let me get this straight here. So on line 56, we're just striking out the word positive. And what other line?
On line
64.
64. So that's the amendment before us. If there's no other questions on the amendment, I entertain a motion to adopt. Motion by Representative Fiddler, second by Representative Stringer to adopt the amendment. All in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed? All right, now the bill's before us as amended. Is there any other questions on it? Not seeing none. Got a motion for Representative Gray to, for favor report, second by Representative Morris. All indicate by saying aye on the bill as amended.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, aye has it. Your bill has a favorable report.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Positive on both of
So
them.
you have that. All right. That brings us to House Bill 363. Representative Barnes.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we have a substitute for this.
All right, go ahead and explain the substitute.
Well, under existing law, the crime of riot, harassment, and disorderly conduct are established and are a violation of the law. This bill would establish the crime of disruption of church worship service and provide that the crime is committed if, during that worship service, that has a scheduled time an individual entering upon the premises of the church or church property with the intent to disrupt the worship service, engages in a riot, disorderly conduct, the harassment of a worship participant, or the obstruction of the ingress and egress of the church property or the building.
All right. My understanding, you work with the District Attorneys Association on the substitute. They're good with that?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. So now the bills before us as substituted. You have that bill? Yeah. Well, I was going to ask any questions first. I got this, Representative Pettus. Oh, if Teresa said it, yeah, we got to do it. All right. Is there any questions on the bill as substituted? Representative Jackson.
Thank you. Mr. Barnes, are you projecting people gonna go to church anyway, but you're projecting people to go to church to disrupt service? Now you got the deacon and you got the trustee disrupting the church service. It's not the agitators.
Representative.
I mean, the intent.
This bill has an element of intent to go there and intentionally disrupt a service. This is not someone that's already in the service or something that's someone that attends church there. This is someone that comes outside with the intent to go in and disrupt the service, cause harm, harassment, disorderly conduct, everything that I just described.
Now, I'm Pentecostal. Now, if I came to the Baptist church and I said, hallelujah, praise the Lord, run the aisles, now that's disrupting the service to you.
No, sir, that's not.
That's not regular.
Well, it is.
Not in the Baptist church.
All right, don't talk over each other. Let them answer.
Hey, we jump up and holler hallelujah, but
what church?
we're talking about someone coming from the outside.
I'll be the outside.
The church.
I'm not a member of the church, but I'm visiting.
You come visit, you jump up,
and
hallelujah, and we're gonna be all right.
When tell the preacher, that ain't the truth, preacher.
Well,
I'm gonna tell you something. There's a lot of stuff goes on. And when you know it, you have to speak against it, and I have done that. When they get up there and tell that stuff, and people, I said that's not scripture, but that's not disrupting the church service. I get asked to leave when I do stuff like that. But I hear what you're saying, but you should know the truth, and the truth will do what?
Sir, I didn't hear you.
Set you free. All right, Representative Morris.
Okay, so I know what it's saying, the church building.
Yes, ma'am.
Or the church property.
Correct.
So if you have a group of people on the sidewalk.
This does not pertain to them.
Okay, so they can stand on the sidewalk and.
Yes, ma'am.
Still.
Yes, ma'am.
And not have.
This does not impede anyone's freedom to express except on church property or in the building.
Okay.
I got a motion by Representative Pettus for favor. Okay, hold on. Representative England.
There are several elements to the offense that we're creating. Engages in a riot, engages in disorderly conduct, engages in harassment of any individual participant of the worship service, obstructs the ingress or egress to the church building or church property. So if two parishioners get into a fight at or argument during the service, are they looking at a Class C felony?
Of course not. They are members of the church and they have the right. This is someone who comes from the outside with the intent to come in and cause disruption. This is not between two parishioners or.
Well, I mean, actually, though, it says that engages in harassment of any individual participant of the worship service.
But this is someone that has come from the outside.
So a visitor gets into an argument with somebody who's in the church.
Hey, let's do this.
That becomes a Class C felony.
Well, if they
hold on. We've got folks from the DA's office. If they would come to the mic, state your name, who you're with. I think this is a better question for the DA's office.
Good morning. I'm Katie Langer. I'm with the District Attorney's Association, Office of Prosecution Services. I hear your question, and it's a good question, but that's the second part of the statute. The first part is also required, which means you have to come with the intent. And so if you're there visiting on a particular Sunday morning and yell heresy, that would not meet the elements of this statute because you have to come there with the intent to obstruct.
But of course, you know, you can develop the intent when you get there.
I believe the way this statute is
Because what
written-
you don't want is that what you're going to have to prove as a prosecutor is that somebody came into the building with the intent to disrupt, correct?
Yes.
So if I get there and something happens and I disrupt, we get into an argument or a fuss or we end up fighting. So you're saying that in that situation, that my recklessness or disregard for the current situation and circumstances won't rise to the level of that intent, and then ultimately what would normally be a Class A misdemeanor would then become a Class C felony?
I think is going to depend on the surrounding circumstances, which is usually how we always prove intent. And so if you have someone who is there visiting and it's clear that they were there to check out a new church or do whatever, that's a different situation than somebody who is coming to the church with the intent to disrupt that service. And I think the prosecutor would have the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that that's the reason why they came. And if they fail to meet that burden, then the person would be not guilty.
But but we're also talking about two different things. The burden of proof for prosecution purposes is different from the probable cause necessary to get the arrest in the first place.
That's true.
So all that evidence that we're talking about will be presented multiple times, but what's most important in certain situations is the fact pattern that determines whether or not you get arrested. Because the difference between a Class C felony and a Class A misdemeanor is significant in the amount of bail and the requirements that you have to do in order to get out pending trial. So a large percentage of this isn't way down the road when we're talking about just whether or not you're going to get convicted and what's necessary to get you convicted. It's also what's necessary to get you arrested in the first place.
I agree with that.
So that would concern me. You know, it's not enough to say, suggest that we need to just further conversation as this bill goes through the process, that we don't want language that we're using to get to a particular set of circumstances and conduct to be so vague as to get someone who wasn't necessarily trying to disrupt a church service.
I agree. And that's a consideration for the District Attorney's Association too, that we want this to be narrowly tailored to avoid prosecuting what is proper behavior or allowable behavior. And so the intent was to narrowly tailor this to say, you're coming to church with the intent to disrupt that service, and you do one of these things. You engage in disorderly conduct, you engage in harassment, you engage in a riot. If all of those factors, each of those is an element, but if those factors are present at that point, you could be charged, but not before.
So maybe I come to church just to fight somebody.
That's right.
Okay. That ultimately, because I'm not intending to disrupt the church service. I'm just coming to whoop some.
I'm with you. Sometimes it's a good place to find somebody.
So, do we want that person? So we're not trying to ensnare that person?
No, we're not, and this statute would not do that.
Okay.
Representative Wadsworth.
I just want to make a point. I know over the years, the Methodist Church has gone through an upheaval where you've had numerous churches that have been divided, and each one of those times, the emotions were extremely high on both sides, and the issue of that you could be charged with a felony, at least a Class B felony. Class B felony carries up to 20 years in prison, and if you've got that situation where you have all these church members that are coming with high emotions on both sides, I think it puts a lot of those folks in jeopardy to speak out, but that's just my point.
And just to clarify, it's a C felony. It's not a B felony.
But it carries up to 10 years then.
But I agree, and I take your point, and I think that's why we drafted it the way we did, to make sure that if you're talking about something, emotions can run high in a church service. But if your intent is to come there with the intent to go through a business meeting or to do those things, you would not meet the elements of this statute. And so you would not be able to be prosecuted under this statute if you're talking about wanting a part of the church wanting to split off or do something those
you could be
things.
charged, then you got to go back and prove yourself. In a felony, you don't get like a motion for summary judgment
That's true.
In a criminal case, so you have to go through a trial to get eliminated.
Yes.
Okay, got a motion for favorable report by Representative Pettus, second by Representative Stringer. All in favor? I'm sorry, hold on. Yeah, the motion is to adopt the sub by Representative Pettus, second is by Representative Stringer. All in favor of adopting the sub? Aye. Opposed? Okay, now the sub is before us. Motion by Representative Pettus to adopt the bill as substituted. Okay. Representative Morris.
Why not a misdemeanor? Why not a misdemeanor? Why? Because even though we hear, temperatures may rise within the church, and everyone knows that. So we know what brought about the bill. We just gonna act like we don't know, but we know what brought about the bill. So why not just make it a misdemeanor where if someone is arrested, it's not taking so much time or so much money to prove themselves innocent when they get to that level?
That's a good question for Representative Baker. We at the District Attorneys Association work to make this bill as narrowly tailored and clearly able to prosecute as possible.
Okay.
In terms of the punishment, that's not a decision that we were involved in.
Okay. So to Representative Barnes,
Yes, ma'am.
why not a misdemeanor? Because things actually happens inside of the church, and now you have two people that's into it. One, and like he said, if the church is deciding to split or they haven't doing business and people are getting into it, and you have to prove it. But what about the rope before you get to proving it, that you have to pay so much money? And I just think a lot of times we just come with a lot of these bills based off of emotions and based off of feelings or things that we've seen on TV or coming from other states, and we just make a decision, oh, I think we need that. And it's going to hurt the people that you actually see on a regular basis because some temperatures may rise. So why not just make it a misdemeanor instead of a felony? Because it's not going to go the way that you see something on TV.
Representative Morris, if you don't mind, I want to ask a question because I think she can answer that. It's my understanding, does this not follow federal law, which is a felony?
That is what was communicated to us, yes.
Okay, so that it is a felony, it's federal law. This bill actually mirrors that. We're just trying to get on board so your organization can prosecute these cases in case the federal courts do not adopt the case in the state of Alabama. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Okay, that's y'all understanding. We'll get some more clarity. Thank you.
Well, it's not an understanding, it's the law.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Jackson.
These kind of bills make you put double tint in your car.
We have a motion by Representative Pettus.
Told you I needed
The motion is to adopt the bill as substituted. And second by Stringer. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. The bill has a favorable report. I appreciate everybody being here today. And motion to adjourn by Representative Jackson, second by Representative Stringer. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.
It was carried over.